academic task. So the lesson objectives will be at the end of this lesson. You should be able to state the definition of academic task in the Google Slides in the comment box. Provide one example of an academic task in the Google Slides in the comment box. Analyze your group's lesson plan and choose appropriate academic tasks for your students. Alright, so let's begin with academic task. Now, academic task, first of all, we need to define what is academic task. Okay, second, we need to know the reason why we give students academic task. Okay, so here is the purpose, okay, of or the reason. And then, when do we give academic task? Okay, so the question here is when. Alright, and then where to give the academic task. Okay, so we'll be covering all four in this video lecture. First, let's define what are academic tasks. So academic tasks are tasks given to students to complete either at home, we call it homework, or in school, we still call it exercises or homework. Okay, so it could be group work or individual work or even pair work. So it focuses on enhancing retention, okay, enhancing retention of a lesson, so that when the students actually practice doing the academic task, then they would remember it longer, they would understand it better. Okay, so enhancing retention of a lesson learned on that particular day, week, or month. Now, students will produce something upon completing the task. So they need to produce something, like an essay, like a miniature house, like a diorama, okay, a role play, for example, okay, a poem, etc. Okay, so academic task, this academic task is actually based on what the students learn and the learning objectives for that lesson. So if the learning objectives ask the students to be able to write using certain adjectives or certain adverbs, or in the present tense or past tense, then that will be what the academic task is going to be like. So academic task actually follows the LO. So academic task actually focuses on the following. Number one, the product students are required to produce: essays, poems, audio recordings, videos, animation, for example, or PowerPoint slides or keynote. It could be anything. Okay, and then the resources. Okay, resources here including content instruction that are available to them. So you need to give them instruction, like your assignments. I had the assignment brief. So the assignment brief will be the instruction on how to complete, let's say, the first assignment that you are actually doing right now, which is the report writing. Okay, so the resources given is that you need to do a questionnaire, go through the questionnaire, and then you will email the questionnaire to your friends, and then there are many internet articles on the internet that you can actually use in writing your report. And then number 3, accountability or the reward structure in the class. Okay, accountability here is no plagiarism. Okay, if you are caught plagiarized, then yes, there will be penalty. Okay, the reward would be that if you don't plagiarize and your report writing is good, then you get high scores. And then number 4, cognitive demands of the task. Cognitive demands here means that is it up to your level? Remember Piaget? Now you are at formal operational stage. That means you can already think abstractly. Okay, and that means your report will be slightly of a higher level compared to those who are still at concrete operational stage. Okay, so that is cognitive demand, that you need to read up, you need to summarize, you need to write your report, and there must be a collaboration in that particular group of yours. Now, how are academic tasks defined? Okay, the definition is that it is defined by the requirements of the products students are expected to hand in, such as an expository essay or a test paper. It is also first product. Second is defined by the resources available for the students to accomplish, to complete that work. For example, I've given you a look into a model essay, a sample essay, or a sample report, sorry, and also some guidelines. Okay, and then the operations. Okay, operations here will be the instructions that are to be used to generate the product. Okay, what will be your operation? Number 1, you're going to you came up with the survey questions, and then number 2, after I have validate your survey questions, you email it to your friends, or you give it in a WhatsApp group, okay, or a Telegram group, or any other groups, and then once you get their answers, then you start to analyze. Once you have your data, you analyze, you have your findings, then you write your report. So that is the meaning of operation. Okay, so this is actually from Doyle and Carter 2013. Now there are 4 categories of academic tasks. Number 1, this is according to Doyle once again. Okay, so number 1, memory task. That means recognize or reproduce information. You know the photosynthesis process. So when you meet up with a friend, or you are teaching at a tuition center, so you will tell your students at the tuition center about photosynthesis process. That is recognize, reproduce information. Okay, so you just reproduce the information, making it more easier for the students to actually understand what photosynthesis is all about. Next one, routine or procedural tasks. Use algorithm to solve problem. Okay. So there must be procedure. That means sequence. That means instructions. Okay. Algorithm here means the sequence. Okay. So what is number 1? What is number 2? What is number 3? So you use these steps to solve a problem. One example will be the scientific inquiry method. Okay. Now, when you talk about scientific inquiry method, the first one is ask question. Number 2, find out. Okay, by reading books or journals or articles about the question that you have, and then you create hypothesis or prediction, and after that you test, and after testing, okay, you will have to accept, okay, or deny, okay, or do not accept the hypothesis. and then you write your explanation. So this is procedural. Okay, this is procedural. And when we talk about scientific inquiry method, we always go according to this sequence. We cannot jump from one to the next, or we begin at the bottom. We must begin from the top, which is ask question. Okay, the next one is comprehension task. Transform, combine, choose the best information. Meaning to say, if you understood a certain paragraph, so you can actually combine the idea with another paragraph from another article that you have read. Okay, so this academic test requires you to read a lot. So you are actually compiling evidence and data from several articles, and then you write and transform those articles into the best information about a particular topic. Opinion tests state a preference. Okay, so for example, if I give you a topic, learning science versus learning arts, state your preference. So you will have to choose side. Okay, preference here, you have to choose side. You can't have both, so you have to choose just one. So if you are in for science, then you write about science, about the benefits of studying science, etc., etc., etc. If you are for arts, then you actually will talk about arts most of your academic task. Alright, so let's go to why do we give students academic tests. So this is the second one, okay, from the chart that we saw earlier. Alright, reasons why we give academic tests to students. Number one, enhancement. Okay, A, enhancement, B, retention, C, revision, D, extension, okay, E, problem solving skills, F, communication skills, and G, technology skills. These are some. There are others, okay, but for now, these are the ones that we go by. Number two, benefits of academic tests will be enhancement, revision, familiarity, connecting one concept to another, making meaning of what they learn. Okay, enhancement and revision, we already had this earlier. Familiarity, that means the students will be familiar with that particular subject, that particular topic. Connecting one concept to another, let's say the student can connect what they learn in chapter 1 with what they are learning in chapter 2 and what they are going to learn in chapter 3. So that is a connection. And making meaning of what they learn is what they understand, and then they write it down. If they use if they are looking at VAK, then the visuals will be drawing mind maps. The auditory might be recording his or her voice and turning it into a podcast. So making meaning. When we talk about academic tests, each and every one of you will have a different definition or understanding of what academic task is, and then you're trying to make meaning. So academic task is so and so and so. Another person, oh, academic task is actually homework. Another one is, I don't understand academic task. So that is what we call as making meaning. Now the third one is when to give academic tests. Is it always homework? So when is the best time to give students academic tests? Here are some suggestions. During class, where you ask your students to do group work, to complete or solve a problem. Okay, anything that is given to you. For example, in our lectures, we have thinking point. So those thinking points are problems, and you need to solve the problem. Okay, and then taking work home, or AKA homework, to enhance retention and deeper learning. Okay, and the amount of work to be done by students should be sufficient. uh, do not tax them, do not give them too many that it frustrates them, and that would have a negative effect on students' self-esteem. Okay, for example, 3 days for written academic tests like essays, but longer for written assignment or paper. More than 3 days if the academic test requires interviews, interrogation, etc. So this is a general timeline. So for written academic tests like essay, you give them 3 days to complete. But if the essay is longer, like a report where you have to do you have to conduct survey, that it will be longer. Okay, so in your case it's actually from week 1 to week 4. Okay, so on the 4th week you will submit the report. Alright, where to give the academic test. So this is the final one, where to give the academic test. In the classroom, okay, before the students leave, right, or at the end of the chapter for self-evaluation, right? So no video games until after homework is done, capiche? Okay. Alright, so when the students are about to leave or 5 minutes before the bell rings, then you give the academic test. During classroom, okay, you do give the academic test during class, okay, for them to solve and to present in the classroom. And then at the end of every chapter, there is, let's say, a self-evaluation questions, so the students can do this as well. Alright, so that's all on academic tests.